Are you okay?
Towards the end of the game, we see Cassie in concern and genuine care approaching the seemingly dysfunctional body of Freddy, being badly destroyed. He lies on a pile of destroyed staff butts and his right foot having the word prototype written on it. Thus Freddy soon stands up, depicting he's missing his robotic head and his chest cavity is exposed, forming some sort of a mouth which he now uses to force people into. Freddy sets on chasing after Cassie, successfully navigating despite having no head or eyes to see her. Unlike the original Glamrock Freddy who was friendly and helped Gregory throughout the game, this one is a polar opposite, being very hostile. In the death scenes, as soon as it captures Cassie, he forces her into his chest cavity, essentially killing her in a brutal way. This is a direct contrast to how Gregory would go inside his chest cavity to hide from the other hostile animatronics and stay protected. So the question is, what happened to Freddy, and is this the same Freddy that helped Gregory survive the mishaps in the Pizzaplex? The base game had several endings, which now has left the fans split between what ending was actually the canon one. If we were to assume this prototype Freddy is the actual Freddy in the base game, we have to take the Princess Quest ending as the canon ending, as that's where Freddy gets torn apart by the staff butts due to Vanny taking control of them and ordering them to do so. The place where Freddy is found is also consistent with the base game ending, being in the phaser blast area with a pile of deactivated staff butts being around and under Freddy. So this is quite consistent with the ending. In that ending, Vanessa is also seen waiting for Gregory outside the main door, all having a happy ending, with Freddy's consciousness still existing in the head, whom Gregory takes, which is still consistent with the damaged Freddy we find in the DLC missing the head. So depending on whether the DLC is actually canon or not, and if the prototype Freddy is actually the main good Freddy in the base game, we can assume the friend Gregory talked about on the walkie-talkie could be Vanessa, and that's during the ending of the DLC when Cassie is running away from the mimic being in the tunnel.
Is there another option? You need to get out of there now! How? My friend has access to the building maps. Just follow instructions.
So taking this as the canon ending for the DLC, with Freddy being disassembled by the staff butt and Gregory taking his head, we can go back to the big burning question to what happened to Freddy and why his body is now hostile. Well, if you have watched the video I made about a year ago talking about why Freddy, unlike the rest of the animatronics, is good, Freddy manages to reboot his system and overwrite his hack or malfunction, entering the safe mode. We also learned through the game that Freddy gets disconnected from the main system or the server system which controls the entire Pizzaplex and the animatronics. Therefore, Freddy luckily managed to reboot himself, disconnecting from the Pizzaplex system and enter a safe mode, keeping true to his actual programming, being friendly and helpful. According to the encounter we have with Sun and Moon, the port for rebooting the animatronics is within the back of their heads. So it's a possibility that Freddy has his main CPU and reboot functionality in his head as well, essentially having his soul and consciousness stored within his head. This would mean his body would be scraps and dysfunctional without the head. Unexpectedly, his body starts moving on its own, chasing after Cassie, somehow being hostile and navigating its way. This doesn't make much sense to how it navigates its surroundings and how it still functions independently from the head. But as robots are typically designed, they depend on batteries and motherboards to run, and what appears to be the case here, Freddy's body had separate motherboards and systems than the head, which means the bodies are replaceable, with Freddy even having the ability to take another host body to be mobile again. Maybe the new Freddy has his own body, being completely independent and free of the Pizzaplex system. Now the answer to why Freddy's body is hostile goes back to what was mentioned in the base game. Whenever Gregory failed to successfully run an upgrade on Freddy, or whenever his power ran critically low without being charged, he instantly would attack Gregory. Even Vanessa mentions that Freddy is running in safe mode, being disconnected from the main system, hence running on the base OS. This means that after Gregory took away Freddy's head, his body's battery ran critically low, putting him in a hostile state, where his body would attack any nearby entity or human, seeing them as a threat and confining them inside his chest cavity until the authorities would come and apprehend them. But due to being deformed, placing anyone in his tight chest cavity would crush them and kill them instantly. So to answer it briefly, Freddy enters the low energy mode, being completely on the guard or critical mode, where he lashes out and attacks anyone in his proximity. Now, if this ending is the canon one and if this animatronic body actually belonged to the main Freddy in the base game, how can we explain this sinkhole and the destruction of the Pizzaplex? In the ending where Gregory faces Burn Trap or Afton, a series of explosions send the Pizzaplex into a state of destruction, which would make more sense. But how does the Princess Quest ending come to play here? Well, as the Mimic explains in Gregory's voice, and as we see, the Pizzaplex seems to collapse and get severely damaged due to a massive earthquake opening up the ground and creating a large sinkhole. The newspapers even report on the Pizzaplex being shaken from a large-scale earthquake, forcing the complex to shut down. So it's a possibility the Pizzaplex actually collapsed due to the ground opening up from an earthquake, leading to its big state of disrepair. We also don't see much evidence of the Pizzaplex being burned down, so maybe the newspapers are actually reporting on the truth that an earthquake shook the Pizzaplex and destroyed it. This would eventually allow the Mimic have access to the servers and have signal to the surface, luring Cassie to visit the Pizzaplex and free him. I know I have mentioned otherwise in my previous videos, and in reality, we don't even know if the DLC is actually canon to the lore or just a playable spin-off based on the actual lore. So this means maybe the Mimic is actually not possessed by Afton and the Mimic can be its own standalone villain, which in the books is mentioned to be a powerful and unique animatronic built with stronger material, which is extremely hostile and dangerous. There doesn't seem to be any sault bound to this animatronic, deepening its backstory, but I wouldn't be surprised if they develop its backstory as we go along. I have already explained the story of the Mimic thoroughly in a video, which you can watch by hitting on the card above if you haven't already. Alright folks, that's about it for this theory video of FNAF Ruined DLC. If you enjoyed it, you can stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.